The most painful people you will ever meet do not look painful, they look fine. Happy even, always the ones laughing the loudest. Remembering your birthday, asking how that meeting went when you had already forgotten you told them about it. They show up every single time, and when life gets heavy for everyone around them, they are already there, calm, steady, present, like they were built for it. So naturally, nobody thinks to check on them. Because why would you? They are always okay. And when you do ask, just casually between conversations, "Hey, how are you doing?" They smile before they even answer and say, "I am good, tired but good," and you move on because it sounds true, because it always sounds true. But here is what nobody talks about. That answer, tired but good, has been their answer for years. Different days, different people, different situations, same answer. And somewhere underneath that smile, underneath that calm and that steadiness and that reliability, something has been sitting quietly for a very long time. Not waiting for a solution, not waiting for advice. Just waiting for someone to ask one more time and actually mean it. Think about the person in your life who always seems fine. Not fine in a boring way. Fine in a way that actually makes you feel better just being around them. They remember things. They notice things. When you walk in looking off, they catch it before you say a word. When the room feels heavy, they somehow make it lighter. They are the ones who check on everyone else, who hold conversations together, who show up without being asked. And when life gets hard for the people around them, they are already standing there, steady, like they were made for exactly this moment. So when you ask them how they are doing, it almost feels unnecessary, because you already know the answer. They smile, always slightly before they speak, and they say, "I am good, tired, but good." And something in your brain just accepts it and moves on. But think about how many times you have heard that exact answer. Different days, different moods, different versions of that same conversation, and somehow, always the same response. You never questioned it because it never sounded like a lie. It sounded like them. And that is the part nobody talks about, because the signs were always there, just quiet enough to miss. The way they laughed a little too fast at something that was not that funny. The way they shifted the conversation right before it got personal. The way they said, "Do not worry about me," with a smile that disappeared just a second too quickly, like the smile was effort, not reflex. You probably thought they were just a private person, or that they had it together in a way most people do not. But that was not it. What was actually happening was something much quieter and much heavier than it ever looked from the outside. They learned something early in life. Not from a classroom, not from a book, but from something much more personal than that. They learned it by watching what happened when they showed pain. Maybe the people around them got quiet and uncomfortable, not because they did not care, but because they did not know what to do with it. Maybe they were told to be strong, to toughen up, to stop being so sensitive, not out of cruelty, but because that is what the adults around them had also been told. Or maybe, and this one is the heaviest, their pain was simply ignored. Not once, not twice, but enough times that a quiet conclusion started forming somewhere deep inside them, that it is safer, cleaner, and easier to carry this alone. So they did something remarkable, and they did it without even realizing it. They built a face. Not a fake face. That is not quite the right way to describe it. A fake face would mean they were lying, and that is not what this was. It was more like a translation. Everything real, everything raw, everything that actually hurt, it got converted into something the world could accept. Sadness became sarcasm. Anxiety became humor. Loneliness became, "I am just an introvert. I prefer my own company." And the people around them laughed, nodded, related, and never once looked deeper. The translation was so clean, so fluent, so practiced, that it stopped feeling like a translation at all. And that is where it gets complicated. Because over time, they became so good at converting the real into the acceptable that even they started to lose track of what the original actually felt like. The line between the performance and the person started to blur, and nobody noticed. Because from the outside, it just looked like someone who had it together. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that comes with this kind of life, and the cruel thing about it is that nobody around them ever sees it. It is not the tiredness that comes from doing too much or sleeping too little. It is something harder to name than that. It is the tiredness that comes from feeling one thing on the inside and showing something completely different on the outside every single day for years. Imagine carrying a weight that nobody can see, and then on top of that, spending your own energy convincing everyone around you that the weight is not even there. That is the double burden, the pain itself, and the exhausting daily work of making sure nobody notices the pain. And the reason nobody notices is not because they are blind. It is because the person hiding it is simply too good at hiding it. But here is the part that most people never think about. They are not hiding it to manipulate anyone. They are hiding it to protect you. At some point in their life, they watched, very carefully, how people respond when someone becomes vulnerable. They saw the awkward silences, the advice that nobody asked for, the way certain people slowly drift away when things get too real and too heavy. And so they made a quiet decision, not a dramatic one, not even a fully conscious one, just a small internal agreement. I will be the one who is okay, so that nobody else has to carry this. And the world responded in a way that made that decision feel right. People called them strong, reliable, easygoing, the person you can always count on. So they leaned into it deeper, and somewhere along the way, the role stopped being something they played and started being something they believed they were. And this is exactly where it gets complicated. Because now, even on the days when something inside them is exhausted beyond words, even on the days when part of them is quietly screaming to be seen and heard and known, they do not know how to say it. They have performed fine for so long that honesty feels like breaking something. Like stepping out of a character they have played so long, they cannot remember who they were before it. And underneath that, there is a fear that goes deeper than just not wanting to burden anyone. It is the fear of what happens if they finally put the weight down and look around, and nobody is there to help carry it. It is the fear that if they say, for the first time, I am not okay, the people they have spent years protecting will look at them differently. And then comes the question that lives quietly inside almost every person who has ever smiled through real pain. Was it me they loved? Or was it the stability? Was it me they needed? Or just the version of me that never fell apart? And then, beneath even that, there is something quieter still. Something most of them have never said out loud to anyone, and sometimes have never even admitted to themselves. They do not fully trust their own pain, because they have spent so long telling themselves it is not that serious. So long comparing their suffering to people who have it worse. So long saying maybe I am just being dramatic, that they have started to actually believe it. This is what hiding does over a long period of time. It does not just keep the pain away from other people. It slowly keeps the pain away from the person who is feeling it. They become the very last person to take their own suffering seriously, and so they keep going, keep showing up, keep being the one everyone leans on. While somewhere inside, very quietly, they are wondering if anyone would even notice if they were not okay. This does not happen randomly, and it does not happen to everyone. There is a pattern to who carries this. It is almost always the person who grew up learning to read the room before they learned to read themselves. The one who noticed, very early on, that their emotions had an effect on the comfort of the people around them, who was sensitive enough to pick up on it and responsible enough to do something about it. In psychology, there is something called emotional parentification, where a child, without anyone planning it or naming it, quietly takes on the emotional job of managing the adults in their environment. They learn that their own needs come second. Not because anyone sat them down and said that, but because that is what the situation kept showing them, over and over, until it became their normal. They became experts at emotional labor before they even knew what that meant. Reading moods, softening tension, making things easier for everyone in the room, and nobody ever thought to ask, who does any of this for them? There is a very particular kind of loneliness that grows out of all of this, and it is not the kind that comes from being alone. It is the kind that comes from being surrounded by people who genuinely think they know you, and realizing that what they know is only the version you built for them. They have friends, conversations, people who would say without hesitation that they care about this person, but most of those people are in love with the one who always smiles. The real version, the one that is tired and uncertain and sometimes quietly falling apart, that version has rarely been introduced to anyone, maybe never, and you cannot build